guys are amazing. Heads up, we are live streaming it, so please don't pick your nose. All right, I love you guys. Have a great day. Thank you.
Hello, good morning. How are you? Good, good. I think we would first like to start off with a thank you to Principal Condon, Assistant Principal York, Irina, who is the Alumni Relations person for the Townsend Harris Alumni Association, and Selena Lee, who is the President of the Alumni Association. And also, we'd like to thank all of you for taking some time out of your day to allow us to speak to you about career paths and things after high school. Anyway, I'd like to start off with a question for all of you. I wanted to ask, how many of you have thought about what career field you'd like to pursue? Can I just see a raise of hands? Okay, that's a decent amount. All right. And how many of you are focused on going to or getting admission to a specific college that you have in mind? Not as many. Okay, I think we have a combination of different classes from freshmen to seniors, so I guess that's understandable. Okay, good. I guess without Hello? There we go. I guess what we'd like to do first is introduce ourselves. We would like to make this as interactive as possible. We're not here to give you a half-hour-long story of our backgrounds, but we would like to convey certain factors and things that we've done to lead or have created a path in our careers. So why don't we begin with Joy, and if you could please just give a brief background on your Townsend Harris class and get into your career path.
Certainly. Good morning. My name is Joy Bradshaw. I graduated from Townsend in 1990, which seems so long ago now. But yeah, 95. We were not in this building. We were on, what street was that? The building, the original building that we were in. Carson's Boulevard, in a very, very small building. We had a cafetorium. But anyway, I digress. I am, again, class 95. I'm an entertainment lawyer. How far are we going into this? I'm just gonna jump in. Okay, I guess I went to Hampton University in Hampton, Virginia upon graduating from Townsend. I went on to go to St. John's Law. I practiced entertainment law for quite some time, but then pivoted. I got into technology staffing, and then pivoted again, and I'm now a podcast host on entrepreneurship. And then I'm pivoting again, and I'm starting a documentary on one of my mentors and opening a podcast studio. So anyway, you can do whatever you want to do, but we'll get more into that as we go on.
Can you hear me? My name is Bill Reddick. I'm a parent, and I'm going to speak about management consulting. My background is I was raised in Brooklyn. I went to private school in Brooklyn, and then I went to Columbia for a year. I went to Columbia for a year. And then I transferred to UCLA. My parents moved to California when I was in college. And after graduating from that, I was a teacher. After going to graduate school in education for a year, I taught math. And, but I'm going to focus on my job as management consultant, which I'm going to speak about more in detail I think it's a very fascinating job. We learn a lot of important skills.
Can you hear me okay? Hi. I'm Adriana Mateo. I'm a violinist, singer, songwriter, and actress. When I went to Townsend, I was part of the Phoenix for 4 years. Anybody part of the Phoenix? And also a swim team for like 3.5 years. Then after that, I actually went to Queens College. Took a couple of things at Juilliard and NYU and some stuff in France because for music, that's kind of a little bit more of the norm to have a kind of mixed education like that. And then I kind of cut my teeth on the freelance circuit as a violinist, and now I do a whole bunch of things like open solo for Alicia Keys. Yesterday I was filming with HBO, and I also do the classical circuit, so Carnegie Hall, the Met Museum, in addition to all like the television and other concert hall stuff.
Great, thank you very much. So why don't we just get into a couple of questions where our panelists will be able to go and provide some details on their background and how school had prepared them and what they like and dislike about their job, their current professions. So why don't we begin? We'll start with Joy. Joy, how did school, Townsend Harris High School, prepare you for college?
College, that's interesting. Well, Townsend, as you all know, was pretty challenging, even back in my decade, right? It was pretty challenging, so I felt really prepared. I took some AV classes on Queens College campus, and so I felt like I was pretty advanced. So Townsend, I guess, yeah, it felt very prepared for college.
Okay. Adriana, do you want to?
Okay. Townsend really prepared me not only for college, but for my career and life beyond college, which I think sometimes you don't necessarily think about as much. It's always kind of the focus of like get into the school that we want to. As opposed to what is the life that I want to create for myself, because it goes far beyond your education, right? It's like the way that you look at learning in general beyond an institution. So Townsend really prepared me for that in that, well, first of all, you get a lot of different courses here, and you have the opportunity to choose so many different ones, and if you don't get the one that you want, you can talk to your guidance counselor and get into the one you want to most of the time. And that's kind of a philosophy that I kind of bring to the table no matter where I am. Look at your options, see where, what will create an easier path for you depending on where you want to go. And if the gate doesn't open right away, maybe talk to a few people and maybe, you'll be on your way that way. Another thing that really was useful with a capital U, was the writing skills that you get here. It's really unique in your education from Townsend that you get so much writing, and it's such a burden at first, right, with the collaterals, etc. You all remember those? Still going through those, unfortunately. But once you hit college, you meet so many people who don't know how to write, who don't know how to express themselves. And outside of that, that translates to, I can write a bio for myself, I can write a press release, I can apply for this little job if I need to, just keep things moving. So that's something that I found really hard in Townsend, but then afterwards it was like, wow, all that hard work really paid off in a way that I didn't expect.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry, I didn't introduce myself as people were going through their backgrounds. My name is Gary Mello. I am a graduate of the class of 1990. And I, after Townsend Harris, went to Binghamton University, formerly SUNY Binghamton, and got a degree there in management. And eventually I found my way into the banking industry. I started out in a credit analyst program, and was very fortunate to learn quite a bit from that. And 25 years later, I'm currently working at HSBC Bank as a reputational risk and client selection regional manager. Just to briefly comment on the question I asked before, I think what Townsend Harris, among all the other things that it taught me, really emphasized was discipline, was work ethic. When I went to Binghamton and took on a certain course load, it wasn't difficult because I was able to go and structure things very well for myself and really understand how hard work was going to get me along and eventually get me to my goal. So I think of all the things that Townsend Harris prepared me for, the discipline really hit home. Why don't we move to our next question, and Bill, you go ahead.
I don't know if Townsend still gives externship programs. You don't know if they do like a half a semester where you can work for credit? No? Okay. Well, we should start that back up, right? But one thing I will say is that I was always interested in music, entertainment, and my senior year, I was given an opportunity to do an externship where I was given, school credits to work, in the workplace, and I decided that I wanted to work in music and worked at a small label called Bad Boy Entertainment, and got credit for working with Biggie Smalls and Sean Diddy Combs, and I had a fantastic semester, and also that secured so many relationships that I was able to build in music, entertainment, and based on the opportunity to work in entertainment in my interest, I became an entertainment lawyer because of that experience. So, I strongly urge you all, if they do have that program, to take full advantage of working in a field of your interest to see if you actually like it.
Hello? Yeah. So I wanted to also discuss the skills that are most important when you're a student, not only in high school but in college as well. A lot of people, a lot of folks, when they're young, I think that they want to specialize in something, become study business or focus on something technical, maybe accounting or something like that. What I want to share with you is, for most jobs that you'll probably wind up doing, the most important thing is core skills. So you want to be, and employers universally say this, you want to develop your skills when you're in high school and in college that focus on basic communication skills, writing skills, quantitative skills. You really want to build that up because those are the most portable skills. The truth is that most people who have college educations work in a job only 5 years and they move on. What they carry forward, yes, is their experience, but the most important skills are these core skills, communicating. Just to briefly amplify something I was referring to earlier about the background, because my background does play a role in what I'm going to be saying, that the portability and changing of the jobs. So I was a teacher, a math teacher in California, Bakersfield, but then I became an actuary for a company that provided employee benefits. And then I went to graduate school in statistics and went to management consulting. So that's what I'm going to focus on going forward, mostly on that job. But I want to emphasize this idea of being open-minded and studying something that's your passion rather than focus on a vocation while you're in high school and college. So that's a theme. I think it's very important.
Thank you. So why don't we move to another question? And Adriana, why did you choose the career that you're in?
Music for me has always been a calling, something that I've always gravitated to since I was really little. My sister, on the other hand, she didn't really know what she wanted to do until halfway through college or even beyond that. So everybody kind of comes to the table with their own, set of talents, the things that they gravitate towards. And for me, it was always important to gravitate towards what I really loved. And through the fear of like, oh, my parents are in the medical field, are they going to think I'm successful and respectable and educated, and all of these fears, that love has always kind of powered me through that. And so, you know, I would start actually in high school year playing at some of the talent shows. Didn't feel like my scene, so I tried to sing. It wasn't my scene, so I just kind of practiced, and then got into music school. And then after a while, it didn't quite feel like the right fit, and it's okay to grow beyond the path that you originally set for yourself. That just means you need to start looking at other things and thinking, okay, is my love changing? Is it expanding? Should I be adding more talents to the mix? Should I just be talking with more people? And that's kind of how I got to be on the path where I am today.
Why did you go? But just to repeat, why did you choose a career that you're in?
So, to management consulting, when I graduated from the master's degree from the University of Michigan, there were a lot of options. Management consulting, I did this for 3 years, but I do think I wanted to focus on that career for you guys, because it's a unique job where you're exposed to many different aspects of business. So, management consulting, how many people have heard that term, management consultant, that job title? Right, it's not that familiar. I think as you go forward, you'll hear more about that. So just to put it, I will describe the career path for that as well, briefly. So there are 2 hiring points into management consulting. One is from college. So when you graduate from college, management consulting firms, including big names like McKinsey & Company, you may have heard that company's name before, Booz Allen, Hamilton, Bain & Company, that was the company that Romney made his fortune in. They provide management advice to usually senior management of big companies. So it could be like Chase Bank, or credit card issuer, or an automobile company. So they hire teams teams of usually about 5 people to provide advice. They'll be tasked with a very specific requirement to analyze, for example, if the revenue has slowed down, for example. I'll show you a specific experience that I worked on. Working for American Express, and they at the time had a retail catalog, which the sales had slowed down enormously, and they brought in my company, which was Mitchell Madison Group, and I was on a team of 5 consultants, and we had to analyze this. It's really a fascinating job because it's open-ended. You're given a lot of freedom. There's a lot of pressure to perform. Produce results, but we analyzed all the different elements to this catalog, the catalog and the merchandising, which is identifying the products to be sold, the price points, the distribution, how to acquire different clients. So there was a huge range of elements that went into this this engagement. So it's really fascinating. So that's what drew me into this business. So it's really a fascinating opportunity if you can get it, because most people only do it for, say, between 2 and 4 years, but it exposes you to so much, and it's really a great career set, because what I'm trying to emphasize in this whole conversation is not all jobs will you have your career. So some of you will. You can become a doctor, obviously you're a doctor for your career, say a lawyer, but even lawyers are pretty flexible. But most of you will probably go in a twisty path. It won't be one set job. So choose things that you have passion for, and get the experience and try to leverage that.
Yeah, Joey, if you want to answer this one, it's fine. Otherwise, I have another question for you.
I'm happy to answer.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think I became a lawyer to make my honest with you. I mean, you know, you can't go wrong with legal training. You definitely feel pretty advantaged when you walk into a room and you're pretty confident about just business in general and, you know, just law in general, right? You feel pretty confident that you can hold your own in any room you walk into. So I'm not mad at the training, but I know I became a lawyer to make my parents proud, so mission accomplished there. I went into technology staffing because I was interested in technology. And I felt, I still feel that technology is the way forward, and obviously you can't go wrong knowing as much about technology as possible. But I think that I'm doing podcasting and producing documentaries for the love. Finally, I got to a point where I can, you know, I've been, I guess, decently successful enough to be able to pursue passion. I think it's hard to pursue passion a lot of times when you don't have the money to do so, right? It's hard to find your passion when you're trying to pay the bills. So, you know, I think at this point I'm doing podcasting and producing for the love.
Great, thank you. So now that we've gone through a few of the questions that we had said, why don't we engage the audience and see if anybody has any questions for the panelists or any of the specific panelists that are up here. Does anyone have any questions? Don't be shy. We have a question over there. If you could stand up and speak up, that would be helpful, please. And just introduce yourself.
So it was difficult. That's the answer. I just so happened to have met someone. While I was practicing law at one point, I got married and was pregnant and stopped. So I started doing some legal temping. And in doing legal temping, I got really curious about the business of staffing, right? Because they were paying me X amount an hour. I'm like, wow, if they're paying me X amount an hour, I wonder how much the company is making that staff to me here, right? So I became interested in the business in general, just wanting to know how you make money in staffing. And so I just started asking questions of mutual colleagues and came across someone who was already doing technology staffing. And I stole her. So essentially what I did is I asked if she was happy at her current job, and she said that she was not. And I asked if she had any kind of confidentiality agreements that she had signed, or any kind of, you know, NDAs, which is non-disclosure agreements, and she had nothing. So I took her. I put some money behind her, and that's how I started my staffing agency with her, you know, at the head of it.
Anyone else have questions? Please. Anyone? All right, one. Oh, you have one?
Being a full-time artist, is it hard making, how hard is it making a living being a
Oh, the mic's all at once. Oh no, too many options. That's what a career is like in the arts. You have so many options, right? And so when there are so many choices coming your way, I think one of the big challenges is sorting out what's important to me, like that's the first thing. And the second thing is, okay, what's going to move me more forward on the path that I want to be on? I guess I'm kind of answering your question in a roundabout way, which is for a reason. They say in the arts in general and entertainment that you should prioritize three things, right? Do what you love, do it well, and be seen in that order. I would say number 2 and 3 are probably on the same level, but it depends on who you talk with. I have found that pursuing a career that way has more or less equal to, you know, making a living. I think we need to kind of examine what does making a living mean to me, because are you going to be dining at the Ritz every night? No. Sorry. But if you can kind of adjust your expectations a lot, especially at first, and really be in it for the ride, then yeah, I think it's completely possible. I think you have to be super resourceful about the way you use what you have, because everybody comes to the table with a different set of cards, and it is absolutely useless and a waste of time to think, oh, this person has this, they have so many advantages, because as long as you know what cards are in your deck and you play your cards right, you're going to be fine. You have to really believe that you have what it takes. And that's the first hurdle, that's the main hurdle. Most people just maybe aren't quite sure, maybe they're influenced by the doubt of other people. And, you know, instead of letting other people tell you what your future is, you should let, you know, let the actual results tell you. Let the market tell you. Let the numbers tell you, okay, what's working, what's not working. Anyway, this is a pretty rambling answer, but I hope I answered your question.
Anyone else have questions? Please. Great, please.
This might be kind of dumb. How did you like get into your career? Did you like make connections that you thought
Okay, I'll take this one. It's kind of an interesting story. When I first went to college, I was initially a psychology major, and I believed that I was going to follow that career path and eventually go into somewhere into that field. But then I thought about it more, and I moved over to the business school within Binghamton University and started taking some courses. And as I was taking those courses, I realized that, wow, not only do I like a certain aspect of the business courses that I'm taking, but likewise, I felt at that point the job opportunities were a lot more than if I were to go the longer path on the psychology side. So when I took the courses, I tried focusing on certain things, and eventually, the funny story is that a fellow Townsend Harris alum had reached out to me about my first job, well, an interview opportunity for it. So a connection that way, believe it or not, from a Townsend Harris alumnus was vital to the beginning of my career. And I was fortunate enough to get the job, and I've taken off ever since. So I think, just to summarize it, it's probably good to have a fundamental background in what you want to do. And then, in terms of connections, at least in my industry, and you know, I'd be happy to pass it over to my colleagues here, they are important. And you'll notice, as you go along in your career, you'll create more and more contacts. And those contacts will be just as important as the technical knowledge that you have in your field. And I don't know if anybody else wants to take that question.
One thing I just actually want to point into that is to kind of get a sense of you guys, what you're thinking. Most of you're in high school, and you're all 4 years here, right? Freshmen through seniors, next okay. How many? I just out of curiosity, how many people are seriously interested in becoming a lawyer, going to law school? What about medicine? Pre-med medicine. So okay, a fair number. Okay. It's very hard to know at your age what you want to do. I mean, there are people who do. But I just want to emphasize to be open-minded about your career. I'll share an anecdote with my career in management consulting. So I began talking about this position and the entry points into management consulting. So there are two entry points. So one is hiring out of college. So you graduate from college, you're a senior. Like most seniors, you're not going to graduate school. The two main exceptions to grad school out of college is law. You go right into law school from college, you don't work. And medicine. So when you graduate from college with a bachelor's degree, you segue directly into medical school, which is a 4-year program. But for the vast majority of you, you won't be in that category, so you're going to be looking for a job. So you're a senior. Every college has a placement center, and companies want to hire smart, hardworking people. So there are dozens and dozens of companies that will visit college campuses, typically in the spring, near your graduation date, looking to hire you. You're desirable. They want to hire you, and they're going to hire you. The skills that they're going to need in your job, you will generally be provided. So that's one entry point for management consulting. They're one of numerous industries that are recruiting out of college. And when you get hired, their title is, hello? Your title is an analyst. The other entry point is at a business school. So many of you, whether you know it or not, many of you will wind up in business school, in graduate school. It's called an MBA, you know about this. It's a Master's of Business Administration. They do not accept students out of college. You must work at least 2 or 3 years. And being going to the business school route, you want to go, if possible, go to a top school, top 20 school, because the value diminishes greatly after that. You'll be judged mostly on your work experience. So you graduate from college, you have a job, you perform really, really well, you have a job for 3 years. It's in some sort of company or business, and then you apply to business school and you go to the MBA program. When you graduate from business school, most graduates of business school, and this is true for elite colleges as well, for the most prominent colleges, for business school, there's often 2 options. For the vast majority of graduates of an MBA program, there are 2 options. These are investment banking, which is Wall Street, or management consulting. And management consulting especially is a short-term job. It's like 3 to 5 years, but you're learning an enormous amount. It's very, very desirable. It's very fast-paced. When you get hired out of business school, it's called an associate. So you're an associate or you're an analyst out of college.
Great. I'm not sure if we're out of time. Should we? Okay. Great. Thank you very much for coming today. Really appreciate it. And best of luck.
Oh my god, there was like 10 people in my class. Here you are. I was like,
CEO of a pharmaceutical company. This is stuff.
a pharmaceutical.
Alright, what do I have?
You're all like, I got this. It's with this one though.
Oh, you do it with that one?
Yeah.
Wait, come to my camera. Are you gonna come back? Wait, or Kelly, did you guys see this one? Was it okay? Excuse me. Wait, so how do I do it? Because this one is so hard. Just like, look, this is how I do it. So this is how I zoom out. The zoom out is like easy, right? Then the zoom in is so hard. It's see, it's so fast. Where do you zoom in?
This is so tall. This one, the second one. The second one.
Oh, you look like Steve Jobs.
Oh, you got it.
Oh, you do it with one finger? Oh my god. Julio, oh my god. Oh, you back? Wait, I need to call Steve because they messed it up.
Not they, we know who.
Wait, can you sing her while I call? Zena! Ask a lot of questions. Yeah, you said right name first. Ask questions, okay? So it's not awkward.
I knew. Chris, normal destroy, move up one row. Stickler for detail.
Are you ready?
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Thank you very much for taking some time of your day to come and let us talk to you about career paths and life after high school. Just want to begin with a thank you to Principal Condon, Assistant Principal York, Irina, who is the Alumni Relations person for the Parent-Teacher Association, and Selena Lee, who is the president of the Townsend Harris Alumni Association. Let's start out with a question that we'd like to ask you. How many of you have thought about what career fields you would like to go into? By raise of hands. That's quite a lot. Yeah. Okay. And How many of you are focusing on getting admission to a very specific college that you have in mind? All right, that's more than the first panel. Okay, good, good. It's good to see that people are already thinking about the future and what they want to do in their lives. So what we'll do is we'll begin with brief backgrounds on the panelists, and then we'll get into a couple of questions. Why don't we start with Adriana?
Hi. Hi. Good morning. I'm Adriana Mateo. I'm a violinist, singer, songwriter, and actress. While I was at Townsend, I was both on the Phoenix and swim team. I don't know if there's anybody in the room who's part of it. Hey, awesome. I also was on the classic for a little bit until I realized that writing in that style wasn't really for me. From that, I went to Queens College, across campus, on campus, in addition to taking violin at Juilliard, finishing my French degree at Hunter, doing some stuff at NYU and abroad, because that's a little bit more expected for like a classical music degree to do that. And then after that, I cut my teeth on the freelancing circuit as a violinist, and now I do projects like filming with HBO, which I did yesterday. I was on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. I also do stuff like Carnegie Hall and the Met Museum, the Met Opera, and occasionally I tour. So that's a little bit of what I do.
Hi, my name I'm Bill Reddick. I'm a parent of a Townsend Harris student. A brief background. I grew up in Brooklyn. I went to private school in Brooklyn. I went to Columbia, and my folks moved to California, and I transferred to UCLA, where I was a math major. I graduated from there. And after 1 year, I went to become a teacher. And after 1 year of school of education training, I taught math at Bakersfield High School. And then I became an actuary. Do you know that field? How many people know about an actuary? Okay, it doesn't get that much publicity. But it's something that does involve math, and I was a math person. So I did that for a few years, and I went to grad school at Michigan. I studied statistics, which is a very small field, but it's very useful and has a lot of applications in business. When I graduated from that program, it's a 2-year program, I was recruited by a lot of different companies. And I chose the field, which I will talk more about in this session, of management consulting. So I was a management consultant. A lot of you are probably not familiar with that, but that is a very sought after industry if you go to business school or for many graduates of colleges, because it gives you a lot of exposure to different types of industry and different skills that are very useful.
Okay, great. Good morning. My name is Joy Pratcher. I am a graduate of Townsend Harris, class of 1995, so quite some time ago. I left Townsend, went on to Hampton University in Hampton, Virginia. Then I returned back to New York, went to law school at St. John's University, became an entertainment lawyer, did that for about 5 years. Then went on to, I went on to start a technology staffing agency, which is very different from entertainment law, but I'll go more into that later. Then I also, most recently started my own podcast, so I'm a podcast host of a podcast on entrepreneurship, and I'm now producing a documentary on one of my mentors, and also in the initial stages of opening my first podcast studio.
Thank you. And I'm Gary Mello. I'm a graduate of the Townsend Harris class of 1990. I went to Binghamton University, formerly SUNY Binghamton, after I graduated from here, and majored and earned a degree in management with concentrations in marketing and management of information systems. Afterwards, I went into the banking field via a credit training program at a bank that actually doesn't exist anymore. It was acquired. It's called Chemical Bank. And 25 years later, I now work at HSBC Bank as a regional reputational risk and client selection manager for the Americas. So why don't we get into a couple of questions, and then we would like this to be a very engaging process, so we'd like to hear from you in terms of questions, but we'll start off with a couple. So why don't we ask, we'll begin with Joy. How did school prepare you for college?
Well, Townsend, as I'm sure is true today, was pretty challenging. So I, worked really hard at Townsend. I think that the curriculum, the need to write well and write a lot, right? Yeah, is very helpful through your career because you know how to express yourself. You can write, especially in this age of emails and texts and written communication, you feel pretty confident about your ability to be able to communicate well. But one other way is that Townsend at the time in 1995 or 94, they were offering an externship program where you were able to receive high school credit for working elsewhere. And at the time, I was able to secure a position or internship at Bad Boy Entertainment, which I'm not sure if you guys are so young, but at the time it was Sean Combs, his record label. We had acts like Notorious B.I.G. and Faith Evans and some of those acts, and I was able to essentially, really hone in on my interest in music and form some really great relationships at the time with some pretty big artists, and I was able to get school credit for it, so it was really cool. So I don't know if you guys still have that externship program, but if we do, I would strongly, implore you to explore being able to get high school credits for working.
Thank you. Adriana?
The rigor of the education here is really unique. Even though it's not one of the Stuyvesant rock science schools, that doesn't matter. Again, that doesn't matter that you go to one of those supposedly top 3 schools, because the rigor of the education here prepares you not only for college, but for your life and career way beyond school. Looking at, okay, where do I maybe want to end up, and how do I backtrack from that? How do I start building my life now, 5 days from now, 5 months from now, around this idea? And Townsend really allowed me to kind of look at my life that way. Maybe not in a completely conscious way, because I don't think we're super conscious about a lot of things before we go through them. So yeah, this is all to say that the rigor of the education here really prepared me to look at my life and my career in a kind of macro sense and a micro sense, and going from here to there. Another thing that really prepared me in a way that I did not expect was the rigor of the phys ed here is kind of insane. Really insane in a way that when you're in entertainment and when you're running around on stage and when you have to do a million things in addition to performing at the show, you're like, wow, I am really thankful that my gym teacher made me run 5 miles, even though it was absolute torturous when I was doing it, because now I feel like I can do anything, and you kind of can when you're doing that every day like you are here.
It's good for the soul.
So, I'm going to kind of echo that point of Adriana's about the idea that you're at a very challenging high school, and the sort of the essence of that education is learning core skills, and I'm a big believer in developing those core skills in both high school and college. I think one of the temptations when you're young is to think about a vocation, which is sort of a job while you're still in college, like business school, for example, or accounting or something like that. And I'm a big believer in the liberal arts. I can tell you from my work experience that companies most desire to have candidates, have employees that are really strong in basic skills. They want to develop your oral communication skills, your written communication skills, especially your quantitative skills. So there's a big emphasis on that, those core skills, and a little bit less so on specializing too young. So a lot of companies, when they do recruit you, you graduate from college, you'll be a very desirable candidate. A lot of companies will come to visit the colleges, typically in spring of your senior year, looking to hire people who will contribute to their company. What are they looking for? The skills that you'll learn will be taught on the job. They want people who are flexible, because when you have those core skills, the quantitative skills, the speaking skills, you get along, and you're interesting, you have interesting life experiences, that is what's most likely going to propel you in your career. And one thing I add to reinforce that is the average job will only last 5 years. In other words, you're moving jobs very, very much in your lives. You're going to take on, for most of you, you're going to take on many, many different jobs. And what's portable are those key skills. You're growing and developing. So I just want to emphasize that while you're still young, try to deepen those key skills.
Thank you, Bill. Why don't we move on to another question? We'll start with Joy. What do you love about your job or what you do? And what do you find most challenging?
Which job? I think a common thread throughout the course of my many careers, to second what Bill said in terms of, I think I became a lawyer to make my parents proud. I don't necessarily know that I did it for myself, I just did it more so for my parents. But I think what I was able to do in technology staffing is figure out how to just make money, more so for the money, and now I'm doing podcasting and production mostly for the love. But what's been kind of the common thread is just helping people. I think that my true north is helping people. That's what I enjoy doing. So whether it was rappers, when I was practicing entertainment law and educating them about their rights and which contracts to get into and which contracts to avoid and progressing their career, I was helping them, right? In technology staffing, I'm helping people get jobs. So I enjoy doing it. It's very gratifying to help people find employment. And with the podcast, I'm educating people about entrepreneurship and how you can kind of take your own future into your own hands, and we're all born with certain skills that we can leverage and start our own companies and create our own futures. So I'm always trying to help people. That's the love.
So management consulting. So management consultant is the job. Some of the biggest names that you may have heard of in that industry are McKinsey and Company, Booz Allen Hamilton, which was the company that Mitt Romney made his fortune in. That was Bain and Company, Booz Allen Hamilton. Some of the three of the biggest names. So let me describe this job. So before I do, there's two entry points into this industry. One is after college, you'd be recruited, and when you're recruited, they're looking for again these basic skills. They're not looking for any specific skills that you learn in college. And you're hired at a college as an analyst. That's the title. The other entry point to the industry is business school. So you have an MBA, and then you're hired as an associate. So management consulting is a really interesting job because with very little experience, you get exposed to senior management of big companies, Fortune 500 companies like Exxon, Chase Bank, big insurance companies like the Equitable, things like that. So you get an enormous amount of responsibility. And let me give you an example of an engagement I worked on. So here I was just out of grad school. I have a master's degree from the University of Michigan in statistics. Most of my colleagues at the associate level were MBAs from top schools. So really hardworking people. The job was, there were 5 of us on this engagement at American Express in Lower Manhattan. And we were tasked with the responsibility of turning around their retail catalog business. So we were focused on building the revenue. It had been flagging, and we looked at everything. We looked at the merchandising, which is the selection of the products that they're selling, the price points, identifying the optimal target audience for it, identifying target audience best. So it's really open-ended. And one of the highlights of my experience there, the engagements typically last 6 months to a year, so you're learning an enormous amount. And you have to actually ramp up to the point where you're providing information to senior management. And the highlight of that engagement, which lasted a year, was I actually made a presentation right out of college. This is like a year and a half after graduating from graduate school, with very limited business experience. I presented to Kenneth Chenault, who's the Chief Executive Officer of American Express. I mean, this is a very big deal, and it's an incredible, exciting experience. It's very, very desirable to be in that position. One of the challenges is it's very hard, it's very demanding. You have to be willing to work crazy hours on demand. I mean, sometimes it will be easygoing, sometimes it's going to be intense, but you never question the requirements of the hard work. I mean, if you're told to do it, you have to do it. So there's some crazy work hours involved, but it's very, very stimulating and very exciting.
Hi. So the question was, what are the things you love about your job? What are the challenges of it? There are so many things that I love about being a performer, being a musician first, and then also the other things, singer-songwriter, actress. One of the things that I found, like, unexpectedly that I really love is that the flexibility and the choice that I have allows me to spend really meaningful time and, like, to really value the time that I spend with my family and at church. That's something that I never really thought about while I was in high school or even college. But, you know, you see other people and they just kind of spend time without really spending time, if you know what I'm talking about. Like, spend time with their family, but they just kind of, like, are plugged in the entire time. So they don't even notice the other person. Because sometimes the hours are really crazy, like you have overnight shoots or you have you know, a week full of crazy rehearsals and you don't see anybody outside of, like, your team. When you go home or when, you know, you go to your community, it's like, oh wow, this is what it feels like to interact with people instead of having to actively, like, work on this thing all the time, having this, like, laser focus. So that's one thing that I really love about the job. Besides the actual joy of performing and being able to use, you know, my voice and my talent and to be seen and all these other things that come with pursuing a career in entertainment, I really like the fact that in a very significant way, one person or a group of people can really move the needle forward on just, like, awareness of certain issues in a way that isn't demanding or demeaning or condescending or in any way patronizing. You know, movies like Crazy Rich Asians or the one with John Cho that recently came out about him looking for his lost child, that's really powerful because it makes us, you know, collectively, internationally, not just within the United States or New York, aware of a lot of things that we maybe took for granted or assumed were impossible for people who came from similar backgrounds to us. So, you know, the making of art is super powerful in that way, and the importance of art is sometimes discounted because it goes down so easily But because it goes down easily, you have the opportunity to educate people in a way that maybe college doesn't even offer. The challenges of the job, when you have to work a lot, it's like any other job where if you get sucked into this thing because you have to get the job done, sometimes you have to forego a lot of things like seeing people that you love or certain comforts that you're normally used to or certain routines. So, yeah.
I guess I'll just finish this up on terms of this question, then we'll engage the audience. In terms of the things I like about my job or what I do, I particularly like the subject matter. I like the work that I'm doing. It basically, put into a nutshell, has to do with the reputational risk of the bank. And to explain that in greater detail, if there are negative news headlines out there about our clients, for any sort of reason, it could be for financial crime or for sustainability reasons or what have you. And what we do in my function is we work with senior management of the bank and we discuss these cases on whether or not we want to continue to have a banking relationship with these clients. And so those discussions are very, very interesting, very sensitive, but very interesting. What I also like about my job, and I think this is more of an organizational thing, is that I work for HSBC, which is a global organization. And the great thing about it, being at large, is that there are a significant amount of opportunities. I guess something I'd like to convey to you today is that you know, if you do kind of like to change it up or want new challenges and you prefer a specific field, going into an organization at large would definitely offer you various opportunities and could help you expand your skill set. Now, on the opposite side, in terms of the challenges of my job, is that it's a large global organization. And what does that mean? Essentially, we get a lot of direction and strategy from the global office in London. And sometimes that strategy is not fully aligned with the local strategy in the United States. So the two offices need to work together and come up with a plan which is suitable for both parties. I mean, ultimately, the head office is the one that gives the direction, but we also have to keep our local customers' needs in mind. So that can be challenging on occasion. Anyway, why don't we engage the audience? We'd like to know if you have any questions. Please don't be shy. Anybody? Just raise your hand and we'd love to hear from you. We have a question, please. Could you please stand up and please repeat that? I'm going to defer to that. I'm not really sure that's a question we'd like to answer, but anyone want to take that one?
What currency are you talking about?
Yeah. Are there any other questions? Sure, go ahead.
Actually, I think that's actually a good question. And the reason I say that is because deep down, let's be honest, most of you, probably, not all of you, but I won't change most of many of you probably are thinking, what choices can I make now in college, my major, that will give me the greatest chance of being very rich, right? Okay. I mean, actually, one of the most common majors is I want to study business, even as an undergrad. Why do you want to study business? Well, this is giving you the greatest chance to get ahead in a company and make a lot of money. And I don't think that's a bad thing, but one thing I will say, it should be tempered with this, that you're only going to be happy. There are a lot of people that are rich that are unhappy, right? So money does not buy happiness, and by that I mean, when you are pursuing your undergraduate studies and thinking in the back of your mind your career, you should be thinking about what's your passion, because whether it's philosophy or anthropology or history or business. I think you'll rise or fall, you'll succeed mostly in finding what you really enjoy doing, because when you do find that, I think it'll open the most doors, because this country has so many opportunities. So even if you study something like anthropology, and you're not thinking about a career so much, the chances are that it will lead to something that's very fruitful in your life.
Thank you, Bill. Are there any other questions? Please. We'd love to hear from you. That's why we're here. Please.
Do you have any advice for someone who doesn't know what they want to do in the future?
Yeah, for sure. I think the biggest thing is what's hard, right? There's been many times in my life that I've been confused as to what I wanted to do. Even in my adult life, I think I've been kind of like, what am I good at? What should I be doing? Like, I'm not satisfied. I want more. I think maybe being undecided initially is fine. I think just kind of trying to really figure out what your passion is, and not necessarily listening to the voices of anyone else. But if you enjoy music, maybe you explore careers in music. If you enjoy, I don't know, anything that you enjoy doing, I think that the biggest thing is that you can create a career in almost anything, and you can, create your own business in almost anything. So I'm a huge advocate of entrepreneurship, and you do whatever it is that you want to do, but really just trying to really engage with your passion.
The question was, how do you find your passion, or if you're undecided?
If you're undecided.
Oh, okay, well.
And obviously execute. If it's a matter of funding, then I would, there's a lot of people who can do kind of family funding, or can do kind of, ask for family friends for funding. If not that, then I would say go and do something, work, save your money, save your coin, and start there. I mean, I know I'm not giving you a lot of detail, but it's kind of hard to answer that question. But I would just say, once you get your funding together, get a business plan, and try to build your team and execute the plan.
Great. Thank you very much. I think we're coming to the end of this panel session. Thank you all for coming today. We really appreciate it. Best of luck.
Oh my!
Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3. Okay.
Hello? Hello?
Those of you that have your phones out, I would put them away because it's a little disrespectful to people that are up there talking. So, anyway.
Louder, I guess. I'm saying you want to keep doing this now. Trying to find camera people. I know, we gotta find somebody.
Hello, good morning. How are you? Good, good. First, we want to thank all of you for taking some time out of your schedules today to come and hear us speak to you about career paths and life after high school. And I would like to also just give a brief thank you to Principal Condon, Assistant Principal York, Irina, who is the Alumni Relations person for the PTA, and Selena Lee, who is the President of the Townsend Harris Alumni Association. So we want to make this as an engaging session as possible, and we will begin with a couple of questions that we would like to ask you. And the first question would be, how many of you have thought about what career field you would like to pursue? By raising hands. Okay, it's decent. And another question we had for you was, how many of you are focused on getting admission into a specific college? Okay, I know we have a combination of classes, so some of the freshmen and sophomores may not be as focused on it as some of the upperclassmen, so that's understandable. But still a decent showing. So we're going to start off by having a brief background on each of the panels that are up here. And why don't we begin with Adriana?
Hi everyone, good morning. I'm Adriana Mateo. You can actually find me on Instagram at Adriana with 2 N's, Mateo with 1 T. I'm a violinist, singer, songwriter, and actress. I went to Townsend Harris, and then I went to Queens College, and then I did a whole bunch of things, getting a French degree at Hunter at the same time, taking violin lessons at Juilliard, taking production and mixing, etc., mastering at NYU with Bob Power. And I studied a little bit abroad because that's kind of expected in a way as a classical musician, because I came up as a solo violinist in the classical, contemporary classical world. After that, cut my teeth on that circuit, performed solo at places like Carnegie Hall, Magnum Can Marathon, went on a little label, still am on it, New Amsterdam Records. And now I do a whole bunch of things. Yesterday I filmed for HBO. Previously I've sung on MTV, The Late Show with Stephen Colbert, and I still do the Carnegie Hall, Met Opera, Met Museum circuit as well, in addition to traveling out to perform sometimes.
Hi, I'm Bill Reddick. Brief background bio. I went to private school in Brooklyn, born and raised in Brooklyn. And for college, I went to Columbia. When I was a student there, my parents moved to Southern California, and I joined them there. And I transferred to UCLA. I was a math major. And my first job, professional job, was a math teacher in Bakersfield, California. From there, I went to graduate school. I became an actuary. How many people have heard of that field, actuary? It's a very small field, but it's pretty interesting. It's one of the few fields where you can actually use math without a graduate degree. And I went to the University of Michigan, and I earned a master's in statistics. Another small field, but very, very in demand. Quantitative skills in general, something I really encourage you to all pursue, even if you don't major in something like that, because it's really very desirable. And I used that when I graduated from that master's program. I was heavily recruited by a bunch of different firms, different industries, and I chose management consulting, which is a business that many of you probably haven't heard of, but I'm going to describe it more in a bit. And that's it.
Good morning, my name is Joy Pratcher. I am class of 1995. Woo-hoo! Long time ago. Once I graduated from Hampton, I went on to, Townsend. I went on to Hampton University in Hampton, Virginia. After college, I went to law school at St. John's University, back here in Queens. I guess I became an entertainment lawyer for a while. From there, I ended up pivoting and getting into technology staffing. And from that, I pivoted again and started a podcast on entrepreneurship, so I'm a host of a podcast. I'm also in the process of producing my first documentary on one of my mentors. and also opening my first podcast studio.
Thank you. I'll just give a very brief background on myself. My name is Gary Mello, and I am a graduate of the Townsend Harris class of 1990. I'm also currently a director on the board of directors for the Townsend Harris Alumni Association. After Townsend Harris, I went to what is now called Binghamton University, formerly SUNY Binghamton, and got a management degree from there, and eventually found my way into the banking industry via a credit training program which was provided by a bank that actually doesn't exist anymore, Chemical Bank. And 25 years later, being in the industry, I am now working at HSBC and doing reputation risk and client selection work. And that's pretty much it. So what we're going to do is we're going to proceed to ask a couple of questions of the panel. And after they give those responses to those few questions, we're going to engage the audience. So we would encourage you to think about some questions that you may have for us. So when we begin with the question, let's start with Adriana. How did school prepare you for college?
Are we okay? Okay. Oh, I think it's all right now. Yeah, he fixed it. Okay, how did school prepare me for college? That's like such a vast, like universe level question. School prepares you for life, ideally, not just college. There are a bunch of super successful people who do not go to college, and that's something I think that we, not just here, but as a nation, should be aware of. There are a lot of people who don't go to college, and you need to keep that in mind as you navigate the world beyond college. So that's the first thing. Second thing, school prepares you for college in that, or at least this school, I should say, prepares you for college in that you have such an excellent like work rigor that's expected of you here. It's not even a question. It's like you have to turn this in by this date and you have another thing due the next date. And while college may not be like that and often is not depending on what you go in for, life ends up being like that. You have to balance so many different priorities and goals and desires at the same time. How do you prioritize? This school really teaches you how to do that, you know, successfully or unsuccessfully at first, but everybody gets there. So that's how I found that school prepared me for life beyond college as well as college.
One of the things that I like to, from a personal philosophy point of view, is kind of describing what the value of school is, right? As opposed to a career. So you're in high school now, you're in a very rigorous high school, demanding high school, and then you're going to go to college, and many people ask themselves, well, how can I make money from this? How can I develop my career from this? There's an alternative way of looking at school, and it's what core skills can I develop to make myself a better person? If you develop yourself, if you especially in the core skills that companies so desire from experience, I can absolutely promise you that companies most look for in hiring, they look for, are you a good communicator? Do you have a rich vocabulary? Are you very strong in quantitative skills, which is probably the single most sought after skill? To get along with people. Those are the things that will carry you the most in your career. And I try to discourage young people from choosing too early in a career, whether it's business or accounting or something like that. That's a great career, but it's not something that I really think you should be doing at a young age. So continue to pursue your dreams, and when you're in college, majors like liberal arts majors like philosophy or anthropology are wonderful, and they're your passion. When you graduate, when you're a senior, many big companies will be on campus. The placement center organizes at every college. Hundreds of companies come. They want the best people, and the skills that you'll learn in most jobs they'll provide for you, they'll train you. They want the people that are the most flexible. What are the most portable skills that you'll have are the ones that, think about it, if you think about it, it's the ones that are in every job, right? How do you communicate? And, so pursue your passion in school, what you really want to study, and for a career choice, you're going to succeed most likely in doing something that you love. Because if you go to a graduate school or a job that you don't like, it's not going to work out.
Yeah, no, and I'll piggyback on some of the answers. This is our third panel, so we're kind of like, but you know, I think that, you know, some of the responses that both Adriana and Gary gave earlier, just organization, like Townsend Harris helps you organize in such a way and prepare and work hard, and all those things are, you know, invaluable as you pursue whatever career you decide to go into. What I would also say is writing, right? And you said earlier, Ajahn, you know, writing nowadays is a way that you represent yourself when you can't be in front of people. So, and obviously we're in a technology age where we communicate mostly through text and email, and being able to represent yourself and just engage through your writing skills is invaluable. So Townsend definitely prepares you for that because you do a lot of writing. And so it's not all in vain.
Great, thank you. And why don't we go to another question? What do you believe was your best career decision, and what career decision do you regret? Let's start with Adriana.
Honestly, I try not to think about any career decisions that I regret because it's so easy to get sucked into the, oh, what if? Oh, I would be so much further ahead. But the reality is that everybody, like everyone, has decisions in their career that they regret. Like even people at the level of like Uma Thurman, there are roles that she has turned down. She's like, oh yeah, I probably should have done that one. But yeah, I think it's really important that no matter where you get to, whatever career path you have, you're going to make mistakes. And I think it's really important for you to not dwell on them, learn from them, and apply what you've learned to future decisions like that. And to, you know, send the elevator back down to other people, like telling them, oh, I made this mistake. Maybe you don't have to get into all the details, but you can just kind of describe it and be like, oh, if you have a decision like that, maybe do this instead of what I did. That's really important to me personally, like mentorship, sending the elevator back down, bettering the generations after you, because that's, you know, well, first of all, that's part of what I'm saying here, Townsend Harris, the entire thing we memorize, but that's just part of moving the needle forward, you know. That's really important in a way that's, you know, maybe a little bit too in-depth for us to describe here. But in terms of the best career decision that I made was probably when I was in college, and it was the decision to focus, particularly because I entered music through a classical field. If you're not practicing 5 or 6 hours a day by yourself, not even counting chamber rehearsals or orchestra, then if you're behind like I was, you have a really, really hard time entering, you know, the freelance circuit, because there are other people who've just simply gotten their skills to a higher level. It's almost like gymnastics, but like miniature for your fingers. The decision to focus, to specialize, to really decide like, okay, I play 3 instruments, I'm gonna focus on one. I can speak all these different languages, I'm going to focus on this and maybe pick up language along the way instead of being spread really thinly. I think right now the focus in education here at the lower levels is for being well-rounded, being a well-rounded student, being the ideal college applicant. And you have to realize that a lot of people are successful in college and beyond that by being specialized, not by knowing everything. And that is an option to a successful career path.
So when I graduated from University of Michigan, I had a master's degree in statistics, and there were a lot of options. And I chose management consulting, which was a great choice. And I want to describe that field. So many of you might not have heard of it, management consulting or management consultant. So some of the big names in that field are McKinsey, Bain & Company, which was Mitt Romney's company where he made his fortune, and Booz Allen Hamilton are three of the biggest companies that do management consulting. And what the job really is, it's a unique job that gives people with limited experience but are smart the opportunity to provide insight and information to senior management of big companies, companies like Exxon or General Motors or Chase Bank. So it's very exciting because you're given a lot of responsibility at a very young age. Just to give you an example of one particular experience that I had when I worked for my management consulting company, which was Mitchell Madison Group. It's no longer around, but it had its heyday. Our client was American Express in Lower Manhattan, and we were on an engagement team, which is typically 4 or 5 consultants, and our engagement was focused on turning around their retail catalog business. And the sales were flagging, and we were given sort of an open-ended opportunity to look at everything from the merchandising, which is the selection of the products that they sell, the different price points, optimizing the target audience, so who would get the mailings, which mailings they would get, which catalogs they would get, etc. So it's very, very exciting. The hours are very long, and you have to be very, very flexible, but it's an enormous opportunity to learn. So I was using these core skills that I was saying that are so portable. Now this job only lasts usually 3 to 5 years. Few people stay longer than that, but the skills you learn are therefore portable to other jobs. And one of the highlights I want to share with you, so here I was just out of graduate school, very, very limited experience at all, let alone in business. So I'm there a year and a half, and I'm doing all this research and analysis and talking to employees of the company and doing outside research. And at one point I was making a presentation to Kenneth Chenault, who is the Chief Executive Officer of All of American Express, which is one of the 100 largest companies in the country. So that is pretty cool for someone who's so young and limited experience. So there's a lot of opportunity there, and that's probably the best career decision I made, taking that job.
So I made a lot of mistakes. But I guess I shouldn't categorize them as mistakes. I think it is. I wouldn't characterize them as mistakes necessarily, because I think everything kind of works together for your good. At one point, I became an NBA sports agent. I did that for about, I guess, 9 months. I had no idea what I was doing. Just in the room, trying to negotiate contracts for athletes, but it's one of those things where a sports agency, there's a lot of people who've been doing it for a lot longer than I was doing it, so I respectfully bowed out after 9 months of doing it. So it wasn't a mistake, but it probably was one of the low points, right? Which is ironic because people think an NBA sports agent, it seems so sexy, it was not. I guess the highlight is just, now I'm kind of following my creative part, which is nice to be able to produce documentaries and be creative after, first pursuing, I think, a career that I pursued for my parents. I think becoming a lawyer was what my parents wanted. And now I'm finally, following my own creative part. So I guess the best decision was starting to podcast and starting to really try to highlight stories of successful entrepreneurs, which is passion, just to find out great stories and find out about how people become successful.
Hello? There we go. I think when it comes to the best decisions I made in my career, I would probably apply that to a number of occasions, and those were the occasions when I took a step back and decided to take a risk in my career, to go and move on to something which was out of my comfort zone. And I would say those are the types of moments where you really get a better understanding of who you are and where you want to go. And I would encourage that. These aren't just simple off the top of my head risks. These are things that are thought through for long periods of time, but in order to grow as a person and professionally, I had to take those risks. The regrets probably are around opportunities that I didn't take when they were presented to me, specifically around building skill sets that might have been able to elevate me, both professionally and as a rounded individual. But these are the things that occur as you go along, and you just learn from them every time that you encounter that sort of situation. Okay, why don't we go out to the audience and see if anybody has any questions. Please, don't be shy. Anyone here?
During your career path, do you think that you had a plan to be in mind, something to fall back on, or did you have a mentality of chasing your goal and going straight forward?
I think I was always encouraged to have a plan B, like heavily encouraged by my family, especially because nobody in my family even thought that entertainment was possible for them. Like they had not seen anybody who like came from the same background being very successful in entertainment, being the face of anything. And so it's natural, you know, for parents to want to protect their children, to try and provide for them, even if it's advice that's like maybe not applicable to them. So I think at first I had a couple of plan Bs. Like in college at first I was like, oh, I can also do piano, and in addition to violin and all the other things, I can do French and I could do English and all these different things. I ended up being pretty confused at first. And then I just came back to like, oh wait, what was my plan A again? And once you have that, you know, moment of like, oh, that was my plan A, then all of those other fears and doubts from other people tend to fall away a little bit, just enough for you to really pursue what you want. I think other options for plan Bs emerge as you continue on that path, especially when it gets really hard. But the most important thing for me was to have a plan A and stick to it, because as like Oprah said, is on her awesome podcast, which I highly recommend. If you're running on this track and somebody is, you know, right there with you, if you look, you get spooked and then you kind of lose your way a little bit. The most important thing is just to keep the blinders on and keep running your race, because in the end you are running your race, not somebody else's.
I think one of the dangers in locking into a plan, your guys are in high school, and there's so many things that are going to happen to you between now and when you're in your 30s or 40s or beyond. You have no idea what careers you may take, and the average job in the last 5 years. So there's a lot of, being flexible is very important. So one of the dangers is locking into a professional career that you're not really sold on because maybe your parents want you to do it, or which is not a bad reason. They are paying for it. But just keep in mind that you ultimately have to stand on your own two legs, right? So try to pursue something that you want while also being realistic and in a fallback position. But the other thing I want to share with you is just this idea that you want to pursue something that you love. They might not have the monetary, the financial benefits at the end. But if you pursue that, the likelihood is that things will work out at the end, and stay flexible and stay open-minded. So when you're majoring in college, for example, that's one of the first choices you'll take. It doesn't have to be about a career. It should be something that you enjoy pursuing.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Absolutely. I think it's extremely important to have a plan B. Life does throw a lot of curveballs. you may have a passion for something specifically, but things happen, and you always want to be prepared. So it definitely, excellent question. You definitely would like to have a plan B if it's possible. Are there any other questions? Please.
Do you guys like what you do? Like, do you have fun every day? And like, is it just like work?
I mean, it's tough, you know, I mean, work is still work, right? So, I mean, I think that work becomes a lot easier if you enjoy it, right? It doesn't actually feel like work, but sometimes it's just tedious, you know, but I will say that the amount of work that you're doing right now in Townsend Harris will prepare you for hard work later. You know, but I mean, in general, you know, I think that I'm definitely happy. But it is a lot of work, and especially, you know, when you're trying to juggle career, family. I have 2 young kids, a 4-year-old and a 7-year-old who drive me crazy. My husband's my 3rd child. And so, you know, and juggling, you know, just life in general it's pretty tough. But I would say that I do enjoy my work.
I think it's kind of a fallacy, like a story that we get told that like once you reach adulthood, yes, you are independent, you can do everything, and everything is just at your feet. You have so much power over your, you know, schedule and your world, and life's a dream. And that makes for a really great movie, maybe, you know, by the end of it, and, you know, the ending, everything, all the dots, all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed and everybody goes home happy. That's really simplistic, and life isn't really like that. There are ups and downs, and perhaps it speaks to the way that I relate to work. I think of work as a relationship. Like anything else, there's going to be, you know, really high points. There are going to be moments where it feels like it's endless and like a slog and a grind, or maybe slow, depending on what your work rhythm schedule is like, work schedule rhythm is like. But the first thing, just to reiterate what has been said earlier, do what you love. That is going to carry you through those really rough patches. And maybe it isn't the thing that you think you really, really are going to do. It could be kind of in proximity of that. That's okay, because that you can still kind of pivot to where you want to be or where you feel like you should be, as long as you kind of keep sight of what your first goal is. Like, if you can't do the thing that you want to do or feel like you're meant to do, as long as you keep sight of it and you stay close to it, then it's really easy to just kind of make that jump. But yeah, there's some days that are super easy and awesome. There's some days that are really hard, and that's okay. That's normal.
Okay, great. Are there other questions? Please.
I think for me now, I think there's so many different like paths that most of you are going to wind up taking. It's the minority of people that know what they want to do for sure, and that has to coincide with something that will work out for you. So you might want to know, for example, you want to be a lawyer. You know, it's kind of young to know for sure that you want to be that. But if it happens to coincide with what you really are good at, bless you. That's a wonderful place to be, because you don't have to worry about all those career issues and all those decisions. But for the vast majority of you, it's going to be flexible. So I think most people need to keep an open mind. And I touched on this earlier about keeping your skills, like the core skills, because those are the things that are going to be portable. And it can give you the opportunity to be more flexible and find what your passion is. If you have those core skills, the communication skills, the quantitative skills, you really have like a deeper understanding for it, it's going to give you the opportunity to more likely find what you're most happy in, what job you're most happy in.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with what you said, Bill. And I have to tell you, like when I was in high school, I don't think that I can tell you like what I've been doing far exceeds what I ever thought I'd ever be doing. I'm not sure that I even had a good idea of what I wanted to do, but I think that I knew, I don't know if I mentioned this during this session, but during my years at Townsend, there was an externship program where you were able to acquire credits for school by working at a company. And I was able to work at a record label when I was a senior. And that really transformed, I think, my life in just terms of vision. I think you have to be able to dream really big in order to really, to achieve things. And I was able to be around some pretty influential people who were successful. And I think that when you're able to see success, then you're able to really dream big and you can do whatever you like to do. I know it sounds very cliche, but dreaming is really, really important, and you should dream as big as possible.
I am not where I thought I would be in high school at all. My goal was to impress my parents, impress all their friends and their family, be the one that would be bragged about at family reunions and functions, well, my daughter went to Harvard and Oxford, and now she is a neurosurgeon. And that, to me, was the most impressive thing. Also, my dad, when I was in high school, he had 2 life-changing seizures, and I knew it was okay, I know this would be really meaningful to them, and impress them, and maybe I could help my dad. Those were really important to me. And then as I went on, I was wait, no, I really like music. Science is really hard, and there are other ways to help your community, your parents, your friends, besides the immediate kind of A to B sort of thing, right? We can help by telling stories, by showing that there's more than one way to the top. There's more than one kind of person at the top. And I think that it's really important to look at the value, not just of art, but whatever you are creating in your life, your relationships, as, how am I leading? How am I moving other people forward? How am I kind of elevating the people around me, the people who are maybe watching me, who I'm not even aware are watching me? And so with that kind of philosophy, I found that that's led to not just a successful life, but a really joyous life. And I think it's really important to think of as you're deciding where you want to go to college and what you want your life to look like.
I think just to finish this question off, when I was in Townsend Harris, I thought I knew what I wanted to do. And as life went on, I realized that there are other options. So it's great to start thinking about what you like and what you want to get into at this point in Townsend Harris. And that may help you choose what college or university that you may go to, but don't ever believe that you're locked into something. You may have an idea now, and then 3-4 years from now, when you graduate and move on, it may be completely different. And it's never too late to go and change your direction. You can course correct at any point in time. That's the great thing about careers. So I think, it was even after I started working that I knew, okay, this is the field for me, and I continued on in it. I think we may have time for one more question. Does anybody else? See if we can. Okay. Let me see.
You can build a successful career as a bodybuilder. You can become a trainer, personal trainer. You can start your own personal training company. I know a lot of people who are making a lot of money doing personal training. For us middle-aged people, But I understand what you're saying. I mean, I think that I'm an incredible tennis player. In actuality, I suck, right? But like, I couldn't build a career playing tennis, right? I think you can still have hobbies, right? So I think it's important to continue to do the things that you like to do. Maybe not as a career choice, but I think that you should always kind of continue to do the things that you enjoy doing. And you never know, it depends on why you like certain things, right? So you can find, if you dig down further into why you like bodybuilding, you may be able to find something else, some other reason why you like it. And maybe that's the reason why you should pursue a career that may not be exactly that, or maybe parallel to that. So helping people is my true north. That's what I enjoy doing. And so everything that I've done, whether it's entertainment law, helping rappers negotiate contracts, or technology staffing, helping people find jobs, or now helping people become entrepreneurs, the common thread is helping people. So I think, trying to figure out what the actual passion is as opposed to a specific field like bodybuilding.
I think your life is filled with choices. Choices. Allocating your time appropriately. But just to use your example, if you have a passion for bodybuilding and say you go into business and say you go into accounting, that will play a role because that's a hook. That's like something, if you have a passion for it, I mean, just to give you one crazy example, I mean, it might be something that it comes up in conversation and then your client also has a passion for that, and that could lead to a sales relationship, for example. So you never know where your passions will lead you or how they'll play a role, whether it's in terms of your financial success of your career or your private personal life. You'll meet your spouse through that. So the message I think that I share is whatever your passions are, think of those like as gifts, and you should absolutely pursue them, I think, as much as you can.
I think that, something that I personally kind of struggled with a little bit, just because I saw the way that my mom really had to work to get to where she was. Success does not require you to be miserable. It requires a lot of hard work, and there will be some rough patches, but it does not require you. It is not a requirement to be in a soul-sucking, dying kind of position to be successful. And if you can do anything, and you can really create a career in anything. The playbook is wide open, especially right now. It's really important to develop the things that you love, to gravitate to what you love, to dream, because your dreams guide you to where you're supposed to be. And to keep working at it really hard, in a very kind of focused, rigorous way, in the way that Townsend really teaches you. Because from there, when you have this great skill, that not only do those, the necessary work schedule apply to the other things that you might end up pursuing, but that skill can be plugged into so many different career paths that may emerge that you may end up thinking oh, there's an opening for that. Maybe I can be first, maybe I can be second, or maybe I can just really improve upon what came before me. And all of the things are really, first of all, possible, and two, once you get to that point of excellence, then nobody can match you, and then you can create your own path.
We have one more question. Does anybody else have a question? All right. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it.